first off, Rye, got to put you on the spot a little bit. Of course, I got to bring up your IG lives. You, Brendan Haywood, you recently had Shaquille O'Neal on your Instagram live. Now, you two faced off in the NBA plenty of times. On First Take, so 2 years ago on First Take, you told Shaq that LeBron is greater than MJ and Kobe, and also that the 16 Warriors would beat the 96 Bulls. I know Jermaine has something to say about that, but do you still feel the same way 2 years later? And also tell us how the IG Live went.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing changes from my opinions to that. Obviously saying that those guys couldn't walk in LeBron's shoes, a lot of people got all fired up. That was the part that's just putting some spice on it. But in all reality, LeBron James can score like Mike and Kobe. Those numbers are definitely comparable. I would say those two are the better scorers. But on the offensive end, LeBron can facilitate and get others inclined. So for me, and here's the trick in the GOAT debate, everybody has their own criteria of what they feel and why they make the GOAT. So for me, it's the highest peak. I think LeBron has reached the highest peak of any NBA performer that we've ever seen. So, I stick with LeBron James. I think Michael is unguardable, one-on-one. You can't stop him. But in a modern era of basketball where you have to get all other four members of the basketball team in unison and working, I think LeBron James' vision, scoring ability, and size makes him the greatest ever. Michael was more dominant, but I'm sticking, and Kobe, obviously, a clone of Michael, and some people could argue Kobe was better than Michael because Kobe, in my mind, played against better competition. Okay, so that's another for the Kobe fans. They can throw that out there. But for me, LeBron is the greatest because if I plug them in different eras or different situations, LeBron is going to get the most out of his team, not just himself. And LeBron has actually made more clutch buckets. Now, we remember Michael's clutch buckets. That's no question there. But LeBron has actually had more go-ahead buckets. So I'm not the big analytic stat guy, but it actually is out there, intriguing enough. So for me, LeBron's ceiling has reached much higher than any other player that we've seen play the game of basketball.
And also that the 72-10 versus that 73-9 Warriors. Still sticking with the Warriors?
Absolutely. So everybody thinks that's like a knock on Michael, like Michael versus Steph Curry and Clay. No, or KD. That's not what that is. It's the role players. That team wouldn't have had the depth. What do you start Kukoc at center and then you literally can't sub, or you're putting in Scott Burrell, who they can't guard, so it's the role players, it's the Iguodalas, it's the Livingstons, it's this pace, the speed that they play at, and like I said, Michael's a scorer. He's going to get his, but that Warriors team is just different. Basketball, we play a better brand of basketball now than we did in the past. The three-point era changed the game. They'd be getting run by so fast, they wouldn't know what to do.
JB, I got to ask your thoughts about that. Who do you got? 72-10 Chicago Bulls or the 73-9 Warriors?
Chicago Bulls is the greatest team of all time. The 72-10 Warriors, that team was not the same team that Kevin Durant played on, and that team didn't win a championship. So, it doesn't matter what they did in the regular season if they didn't win the championship. You might as well say the Buffalo Bills is the greatest football team of all time, but they didn't beat the Cowboys. Matchup-wise, defensively, the Bulls would dominate them. It's just obvious. Ron Harper could take Curry out of the game, and it all depends on what eras we're playing in, because Draymond Green is irrelevant, if we want to be honest. He's great when the other great players are playing, but look what he did when they stepped out, 5-5. Like, that's not good enough, Now, Ryan, you would understand this. When Anthony Mason played for the Knicks, he was sixth man of the year, 9-8. When he got to transition to get his own team, he became a 1977 guy. In those 80s and 90s eras, we always waited for the guy that was next and who's next up in line. And that's being Southerners and like football people, the Miami Hurricanes, the next running back with the Willis McGahees and the Clinton Portises. It was always about who's next. Draymond Green proved to us that when everybody's gone, he's really a G League player, if we're going to keep it straight honest and the facts. The thing that I have to take away from LeBron James is the competitiveness. He made the game an AAU game. And that's what kind of lacks in this new basketball. You say the modern day era is better. Well, it's not, because there are no more rivalries. It's not competitive anymore. Everybody's friends. So now Draymond works for LeBron. So now he's on TV singing LeBron's praises, but you're under clutch. So how can I compete against you when I work for you? Now, could Larry Bird work for Magic Johnson? So it's just like they miss me on that. You know, Ryan, I think you fully understand that coming from a guy that was a combat guy. Because, Ryan, I can count 7 times on one hand that you done been in a fist fight in the NBA, right? So you're used to that kind of generation. So this new modern day era, I call it AAU basketball. It's not competitive anymore. And that's why LeBron James, to me, can never be a Magic Johnson, a Larry Bird, a Michael Jordan, because he lacks that competitive spirit. He wants to skip steps. So, yeah, of course, you hire all your friends to get on TV and sing your praises. And when y'all play against each other, you kind of got a notch on them because what? It's a friendship club now. So, no, it's a little different. If he played in the 80s and 90s and you knew if you came to the basket, you would get baptized, yeah, it'd be a lot different. But Michael Jordan averaged 35 points a game with hand checking and a beatdown. Imagine if you couldn't touch Michael Jordan. If you couldn't touch him, it's 40 every night. And he's an 80% free throw shooter. And he's a 50% shooter, not a layup artist like Brian, a 50% shooter. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we got to be realistic about what it's about. And being a basketball player, Ryan, I know you fully understand being out there in war, in combat, it's a little different when somebody says, hey, Ryan can play, but let's see if Ryan's tough. So when they test that envelope or they knock you upside your head, now all of a sudden the game changes a little bit. And that's what happened to LeBron when you enter those Dallas Mavericks series, those San Antonio Spurs series. But we seem to forget that those things happen. All we do is praise what he did well. And I feel everybody should praise LeBron for what he does because he's special. But he's not Michael. He's not Michael. He doesn't have that next gear. He doesn't have it. So he kind of created the gear because his generation is easier to trick. So I don't think it's better. I just think it's softer.
Ryan, that's a lot of information to digest, of course. That being said, I think LeBron dominates in any era. Ryan, I'm sure you agree with me. What do you think about JB's stuff about the LeBron playing in the 80s to now, MJ playing?
I like it. Here's the reality, man. You're absolutely right. I'm cut from that cloth of physicality, getting knocked on your behind, and when I first played against LeBron, my first years in the league, the notion around the league was that LeBron was soft. And I ended up having a chance to spar with him in the Eastern Conference Finals. And our game plan was that knock LeBron on his butt. We're going to talk to him. Fourth quarter's going to come around. He's not going to show up. And that series and a couple of series maybe before or years before, I felt like he evolved into what I would call the greatest player of all time, because my biggest question was, is he mentally tough? Is he physical? We hit him. We ran into him. We did those things. So I was amongst the thinking that LeBron could not get over that edge. And mentally, at the time, we thought Dwayne Wade was the guy. Our game plan centered around fourth quarters, Dwayne Wade in mid pick and roll, putting the team on his back and making tough plays. And that wasn't successful. So I think by far, like I said, that's why I say Michael was the most dominant. Michael was always that guy from playing against his big brother in the backyard, in that Dean Smith system at North Carolina, as a rookie, putting up buckets. Just had the only knock on Michael was to learn the team game of passing and cutting and battling your teammates. So I think by far Michael was the more dominant, but I think LeBron James grew into that player. He groomed himself, and you got to take into account. So for me, I go, every situation was different. So am I going to blame LeBron James because he's not what I saw as greatness, that, Kobe Bryant was great? So I said, nah, I don't want to knock him for that. LeBron has this weird knack. And bro, a lot of people as athletes don't have this. He can laugh and sing and dance, and then he can turn it on. See, Michael and Kobe always had that. They were always in 10th gear. Boom, 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 boom. LeBron can go 2, 4, 5, 10. And that's why I said, man, do I not like this guy for the way he acts or for his game? what am I judging him on? So I felt like when I took off judging him for that, I feel like I had to give him his respect and his due, if that makes sense. So that's the biggest thing for me. But I was not a fan of the way that he conducted himself, the way he acted. And I think LeBron is more physical than we give him credit for. But he's just like, he's a different type of guy. Like, I'm be physical when I need to be. But at the same time, if Dennis Rodman, let's say they're playing the Bulls, he playing in that era. Dennis Rodman comes and hits him, he's going to flail like he got shot by you know what I'm saying? We didn't play like that. But I'm like, am I knocking him, Jermaine, because of that?
No, well said. Well said. I respect what you said, and everything you said is accurate. I think for me, being a
and by the way, I take the
lover,
KD team. I take that KD team. With KD on the Warriors. Definitely not the Mighty Mites. They knew that was if LeBron was healthy, that would have been LeBron's chip. I'm taking the KD.
I agree.
I'm like, now
Chip
got to guard KD, and somebody got to chase Klay Thompson. You know what I'm saying? They playing 3-on-2.
No, I agree with that, and I think KD is special. I think the biggest thing with me, and like I was saying, being a basketball lover, I was a fan of LeBron James in his early career. The Detroit Pistons series is what did it for me. When the 20, that was huge, and it was against the Pistons. And then they try to make these excuses, but he hit all the tough shots. But I think once he hit the wall, and he lost to Orlando when Nike did the campaign with him and Kobe, and he couldn't get over the hump, and then he lost to Boston. I think he felt the pressure, and he wasn't man. Well, I can't say man enough. That's too far. But I think he couldn't do what Dirk had to do. He said, I got to figure out how to make this thing work. And then LeBron has that uncanny business mindset to know he's already preparing. So I feel like he's more presidential campaigning to be the GOAT than actually being the GOAT. Because like I said, we skip a lot of steps. We act like the Mavs didn't happen. We act like the Spurs didn't happen. We act like the Warriors didn't happen. We act like the Olympics didn't happen. We act like he didn't put on a fake cast, Ryan. There was a lot of things where it's like, Mike don't do all that. That's
I look at it like this. Mike, from day one, his older brother beat the crowd out of him in the backyard. He couldn't cry. He couldn't moan. And Mike's older brother has game, okay? Yeah. Your bro got game, bounce, everything. He just small. Then he goes to Carolina. He got Dean Smith. He got James Worthy in practice every day. So now he's getting better there. Then he gets to the league, and he's already fine-tuned into this mental monster. Phil Jackson comes along and tells him, hey, we know you can score. Let me teach you the passing, the cutting, the nuances. So Michael had this happy accident of perfect scenarios in which he could learn, in which all the nonsense wasn't there, or the extracurricular. Our generation would call it extracurricular, non-necessary skipping steps of greatness. LeBron James didn't have college, to my knowledge, didn't have a big brother showing him who could whoop on him every day. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And the first time he actually has someone that he could learn from, it was Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley. So to me, when I really start judging LeBron, it's once he got to Miami, because he could look over to somebody and be like, all right, how do you close out in the fourth quarter? Okay, how do you do this? And it got to a point where Wade was like, LeBron, you have to do this now. Now, it was later in LeBron's career, but for me, he finally learned that. So now I'm judging him and saying, what is he doing from that point forward? So you're right, early with Miami, but it got to a point when he was in Miami where he ended up being the guy and he grew into it. But LeBron had to be groomed. And I always look at it like this. When I played in Sacramento, I could teach Boogie Cousins as a veteran how to get to, work hard in practice, come in early, I couldn't teach Boogie Cousins how to take that next step as a superstar. Right. When I played with Kevin Garnett taught me how to defend, how to make plays for guys that are 7'1", that are athletic, to deny the elbows, dare the back door, and then go, because you're so athletic, go take it away. He taught me how to do things that no one else could teach me. LeBron James didn't have anybody or have anyone to teach him about greatness until Dwayne Wade. So for me, like I said, I definitely give Michael that overall dominant edge, but I don't want to fault LeBron because he did not have anyone to learn from in those early years with the Cavaliers. everyone was kissing his butt. There was no one to really be like, hey, LeBron, you do it like this, this, and this. Where Michael did have that. And Michael also is a killer, but Michael was taught that and groomed that way from day one for me.
No, I respect your words and well said. We can stay on this all day. Mikey,
I love it, man. I love it, man. and I'll say this, man, real quick. Like, it's funny. People see you on First Take and they like, we want to argue. We want to fight with this guy. They wanted this. Like, and it's like, dog, a debate is not, people think they got to belittle or talk to somebody like, nah, let's really have a talk. Because if I don't respect your opinion, we can't talk. What are we talking about? We just yelling, he better. Yep. But it's like, why? It's like, now, that is taken into account. And like I said, if I didn't see the dog in LeBron visually from myself, I wouldn't have believed it. And I saw it. And it's funny, a lot of players who played against LeBron before he became that guy, judge him from that. But I saw literally him become that, because, bro, when I tell you we threw every coverage at LeBron, we threw double teams, we trapped him, small defenders, big defenders. At one point, Brandon Bass was guarding him. We couldn't do nothing to stop him. And he made the plays over and over again. So that's why I'm like, I got to give the brother his respect. And then he continued to grow from there.
That's all true, but I had to wait 8-9 years for that when Mike's already a killer. I don't want to wait for a killer when I already got a killer. Mike, let's not forget, Mike in college with the Olympics beat the NBA All-Stars. That's Zeke, Magic, and Bird. 8 in a row, and he was the leading scorer. So he was already dominating our legends. So I'm not waiting on Mike. Mike is it. That's all.
Let me ask this. What's your excuse for Mike's early years when he was getting beat down? He was getting his numbers, but they were getting beat down. So, and I think selfishly, we don't credit LeBron's passing. It's just, I think innately, without saying it, we're score. Who's the better scorer? But we don't ever credit the guy rebounds at a high level. The guy assists at a high level. Why is that not credited? Am I tripping?
Yes, he's a great passer, phenomenal passer. He's not a good rebounder. This era doesn't
triple double. You can't get a triple double without it, man.
I mean, it's like this for me. The 80s and 90s were completely different from now because they plan action. So I'm going to make sure I get a triple-double. I'm already planning, okay, I know this play is going to set up my assist. Me and you both know this, man. Let's not play that game. Michael didn't play the game planning stats. Mike was an impact player. So I'm changing the game because I'm on the court. I'm not, I know I got 6 assists now, so I'm going to try. Man, we live in that generation. I've had teammates who are like, are you counting? I'm trying to win. I'm not.
You telling me Bron is out there counting, dog?
I ain't counting, man. I need to do.
Well, I don't think Bron's counting. Maybe Westbrook's counting. And maybe that.
Guy, man.
But I'll take a step in the direction of the modern LA Lakers, Ryan.
I'm gonna continue, but I still don't agree with that statement.
But to me, JB, that's cool because your criteria of GOAT is dominance, is mental mindset. You had to be the GOAT from college, high school on up. And you saw that from Michael, where LeBron had a growing stage. So LeBron doesn't even qualify from a dominant standpoint, of a mindset standpoint. And like I said, I respect that. And that's the trick about the GOAT debate, why it's never going to go away. We got some cats who love their era, some cats who love toughness, and some cats like LeBron love LeBron for in the sense of the all-around game. And some cats are young. They never really saw Michael Jordan, No,
that's true. That's true. But my thing is, where did Mike come from? That's where I got my biggest beef with LeBron, because if you notice, LeBron will go on social media and he'll post something, and now it's ESPN topic. So it's almost like he's staging his stuff. My thing is, you're more of a Magic than a Michael, and you're not better than Magic. And I was always up for that debate because me and you both know in 9 years, Magic went to 5 chips. He won 5 chips in 9 years. Brian didn't do that. Magic's won at every level. That's high school, that's college, that's pro. And the greatest player of all time currently in that era was Kareem. We all know that. Cap was the man, right? Cap went down, and a 19-year-old went out there and got 45 and beat Doc. Mm-hmm. You the GOAT. So, I mean, when Michael took the mantle from Magic, Magic is more of a Bron than me. Magic was the loving guy. Magic was the creative guy. Magic was the ultimate competitor, the ultimate winner. He was all around. And this question that he couldn't score, that wasn't true. So my thing is, Bron, you're like Magic, but you've campaigned yourself into this Michael thing. I don't even think he can score like Michael. It's just we live in a time where I'll put it this way, Ryan. I got a great joke. When I was coming out of college, I wasn't good. When I was coming out of college, I wasn't good enough to play in the league. I went to the Long Beach NBA Summer League, and Roy Ivy had me my ASS. Roy Ivy now, and I think Roy can play, but on television, the common fans like, oh, he sucks. No, he gave me the business, right? Okay, so when I turned 28, I'm in Timberwolves camp. So how does that work? I'm not so much better now. No, the era got worse. The IQ got worse. The passion got worse. The understanding of how to be a successful player got worse. So I said to myself, if I'm here, because I was with KG and them, I was like, if I'm here and I'm witnessing this for myself, there's no way they could play in the time I never would have made it in that time. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a realistic because me and you ain't that far off in age, Ryan, but I'm like, I'm witnessing this stuff for myself. And there's no way these dudes could have competed. They're not physical enough. They're not smart enough. They're not mentally tough enough. And that part is so real. And people don't understand that. Yeah, it's easy to watch on TV. I told the guy, me and Mikey was laughing at his page. The guy told me the expectations of the league. And I'm like, son, I can talk trash to a Marine because I know all the codes on Call of Duty. But if I ain't never killed nobody, I can't talk to that guy.
We got a little bit more of a GOAT debate here. Keep it tight. All right, Ryan, I know you can keep it tight. JB, no tangents here. We're running tight on time. Ryan, 3 reasons why LeBron is the GOAT. And JB, 3 reasons why LeBron isn't the GOAT.
Only 3?
3 short ones. Ryan, you go first.
He's hit a higher pinnacle than any other player we've ever seen play the game. He's a genetic freak that can score like Mike and pass like Magic. You heard me, JB. I said that. Roll your eyes if you must. And LeBron James has, once he was given the torch, he never gave it back. Once he really learned how, once he went to championship ring school, that was all he needed to see, man. When Pat Riley told him how to do that thing, man, that's all he needed to see, man. Once he went to Pat Riley College, that's all he needed to see, JB.
Well, the Spurs happened after Pat Riley school, and the Warriors happened after Pat Riley school. And when he went in the locker room and put that pre-wrap on his hand and said he broke his wrist, yeah, all that happened after Pat Riley school. But hey, I'm not touching that. We're going to go to my 3 since that was his 3. Number 1, Dallas Mavericks. Jason Terry, which is a role player at 6'1", 180, outplayed you. He averaged 18 points a game while you averaged 17, which is 10 under your regular average. And you shot below 50%, and you shot 60 from the free throw line and 39 from the field. That happened. That would never happen to Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, that happened. It happened. That's just one.
Hey, didn't Mike get swept in the first round?
Oh, we're doing first rounds now? Because
my bad.
Because my guy's 6-0 in the finals, and he had 6 finals MVPs. That means he was the man every time. I was just checking. Okay. You know what? He trying to cut off on my other stuff. It's fine. The biggest margin of defeat in the finals twice. 20-point losses to the Spurs and the Warriors, and he quit. And we know this to be facts. How can you be the GOAT? Come on, Ryan. 20? Mike ain't losing by 20 in the finals.
Mike got swept. He lost by plenty 20s.
In the finals?
He's on the same team twice.
I don't want to be the greatest first round person of all time.
He was getting guarded by Jeff Hornacek, bro. Of course he gonna win that one.
Why do y'all always skip Clyde Drexler, guys like that? Why do y'all always go to Jeff Hornacek? Because Ryan, Mikey, I have to do this. Who did the Miami Heat have on LeBron? Deuce Hauser, Duncan? Like, come on, like they had a 6'5" center in the game. Like, he ain't playing nobody, so let's not do that. Come on, Ryan. Like, I'm giving you facts now. The 17 points a game happened. No NBA great in the history of basketball has ever went 10 points under their average on the stage.
You got one more, JB. You got one more in you.
That was like 10 from JB.
Oh, yeah. All right, yeah.
I said 3 ain't enough, Ryan. I got 100. I'm going to stop, Mike. I'm going to stop.